Now, as an angler, it's very easy to simply learn how to tie 2 or 3 knots that serve us and not move on from there. And I mean, let's face it, there are a lot more exciting things to talk about than knots like rods and reels. But in just a second, I'm going to show you how to tie 2 knots that are very easy to tie, take just a few minutes to learn, but should hopefully help your fishing. And let's face it, if there's something that's going to make our knot stronger or our presentation a little bit better and tempt more fish, and that's well worth a few minutes of your time. So the first knot I'm going to show you goes by a few names. It's sometimes called the trilene or improved clinch knot or improved fisherman's knot. And essentially it's very similar to your basic common or garden fisherman's knot that most of you will know, where we go through the eye, we go around a few times and then back through the gap. Well, we're just going to improve that by going through the eye twice. It's a really simple step that adds quite a lot of extra strength. Apparently in tests as much as 15 to 20%. So for those of you who fish with light line for large fish, that's a really useful way of adding extra strength without a lot of extra faff. I'm going to go around at least 6 or 7 times, perhaps one for luck. I'm using quite thick line here just to show you what I'm doing. But this is with finer materials, especially fluorocarbons and braids that can be slippery. That extra turn is really useful. So I've gone around 7 or 8 times there. Next really important component in any knot, if you'll excuse me, is a bit of spit. For those too shy to ask, a bit of spit is actually just helps the parts slip together, stops friction damage, and it should just help us get the knot in position. I'm going to go through both loops at the bottom there. Quite thick lines, so it might be a bit stubborn, but that spit should help. There we go. Just going to slide together. Always give it a good test, and this thick line is a bit stubborn, so I'm also just going to bed it down a little bit with my thumbnail so it's good and strong. That's not going anywhere. I'm going to trim it not quite flush to the hook, and that's generally good policy just in case we get a tiny bit of slippage on a big fish. But there you have it. It's really only an extra turn based on the simple fisherman's knot that you'll know, but adds quite a lot of extra strength. So our next knot is one that changes the rules a bit, and this is a great one for any of you who fish lure style flies or streamers for trout, or indeed saltwater species, and like a good amount of movement with your fly with thick lines. So this is a non-slip loop knot, and we start, before we put the hook on, we're just tying a little thumb knot on the line like so. Going to give ourselves plenty of space. I'm going to move that further back. You see a little thumb knot there. Next, thread the line through the eye of the hook. You can see there, thumb knot, and then the line through the eye of the hook. And now this free end goes back through the loop. You see that? Now what we're going to do next is pass 3 or 4 turns there, depending on the thickness of the line. Should be all right with 3 turns because I've got really thick lines. You can see what I'm doing. See that? Through the loop 3 times. Through the loop, I've twisted, and now this free end comes back through the bottom of the loop. Just going to try and freeze that so you can see what I've done. See, like that. I'm going to wet it, and now when I pull all this together, again, spit really important just to make everything slide into position. I made quite a big loop there so you can see what I'm doing, but you'll see the principle here. Cut the tag end off. I've made the loop a little on the big side here so you can see what I'm doing, but rather than being tight to a thick line, that's now really loose, so your fly there has got a lot more movement, especially if you're fishing for hard fighting species and you might have quite a thick leader. It just allows a lot more movement than if it was a thick bit of line just clinched tight to that hook. And just a final bit of advice where fishing lines and knots are concerned, and that's really to take good care of your line and invest in the best you can afford. It's amazing how many anglers will spend a fortune on things like fishing rods and reels, but go for really cheap leader material. So don't. Go for stuff you can trust from decent quality brands, and store it with care as well. If you leave it in the light, it's going to weaken over time. So a really good policy here is to have something black. This is a camera lens case, but actually a black football sock or something like that will be just as good. And when you're not using it, just store it in the dark, because your line's going to last a lot longer that way. Well, I hope that's been useful to you. The moral of the story here really is to pay close attention to your knots and invest some time in learning new ones, because it really will set you in good stead, especially if you come across challenging situations. The classic being where you've got big fish and you've got to land them on light lines. And in fact, looking back over some of the fish I've landed, I'm not entirely sure I've got some of them in with your common or garden fisherman's knot. So it really is worth investing the time and effort to expand your repertoire of knots, because if you tie really good knots that won't let you down, that's going to pay you back in dividends in the long run.